All right, and we are live. So, welcome to the evolution of health coaching. And today I have the incredible Chajuana Mays. But before we start talking to Chajuana, if you guys could go ahead, and I see people have already joined us. If you're joining us live on LinkedIn or on YouTube, let us know that. And if you're right here with us in StreamYard, welcome back. Some of you guys are probably with us last week. So if you could let us know down in the comments where you're located and what is it that you currently do for a living. One of the things that this platform is going to be doing over the next few months is giving a voice to minorities, marginalized community members, as well as men. These three populations are the most underrepresented when it comes to statistically, when it comes to health coaching. And so we're going to be Cohort 7 graduate Chajuana Mayes here in just a moment. But I want you guys to drop down in the comments where you're joining us from. And I want you to tell us what you actually do for a living. So we have Linnea. Hey, Linnea, welcome back. I saw you last week. She says she's in Polk City, Florida. She's a life coach and she's a personal trainer. We also have Cabana. Hi, Cabana. Did we get a chance to speak? She's in Tampa, Florida, and she's a sketch. She manages sketch artists. Hey there, Amanda. Thank you for being with us this time. I think you're new. I don't remember you from last week. She says she's from North Carolina and she's an entrepreneur. Let us know also in the comments what you do for business because other people will be able that as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our conversation with Chajuana. And so, Chajuana, how are you this afternoon?
I'm well. I am feeling really good right now. Really,
Awesome.
really happy to be here.
Awesome. So you guys, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about Chajuana Mayes. If you've been getting the emails or if you've been seeing anything from us, you know that Chajuana Mayes she was a Beachbody coach and now she is a graduate of Cohort 7. Just to give reference, Chajuana is from Cohort 7. We are currently enrolling Cohort 44, okay? And Cohort 44's class will start the night before my 44th birthday. Go figure how those numbers lined up. But they just do. They just do. And so as a result, you guys, you want to make sure that you're putting your information down in the chat. If you are registered here, whether you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or if you're right here with us in StreamYard, your name goes into the drawing for a full scholarship. Now, really quickly, the update on the partial scholarships. There were 8 of those before that previous live stream. There's only 3 of those left. So I suspect the 3 of those are going to be gone after this interview with Chajuana, okay? And so for those of you who don't want to hedge your bets on whether or not your name's going to get pulled, there are over 150 people that have their names already in for that full scholarship drawing. And so if you say, well, there's a partial and I know that I want to do this, you want to go ahead and type the word or text the word enroll to 470-236-8118. And I promise as soon as we get off of this, somebody's going to reach out to you and get your information and let you secure your scholarship spot. All right, so let's start our conversation with Chajuana. All right, Chajuana. So I have so many questions for you. I have so many questions for you. Okay. The first question, though, I want to kind of give the individuals here reference. You've seen that we have people here from all kinds of backgrounds. Some people are already health coaches. Some are certified personal trainers. You've done a lot of live training on your platforms across social media. You do a lot of things, your stories and reels. You do morning workouts. You probably do evening workouts too. We just don't see them. But I want you to kind of frame how you arrived from being a Beachbody coach to being board certified. Because I think a lot of people need to kind of hear what set you on that path and talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced as a result.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that from me graduating cohort 7 to 44 happening is pretty freaking dope. So just goes to show you that
Kind of a blur.
there's a lot of people who want to be of service in this area. And so That is so amazing. But I do want to say, as far as my journey to becoming a board certified coach, moving from Beachbody into this space, it was just naturally, like so many other people, just really wanting to like go from a place of not feeling good to feeling good, right? And just really wanting to achieve that for myself as just a wife at the time, a mom, a person who was working, doing all the things which everybody can relate to. It's very common that we as women, we do all the things, right? But just really stepping into wanting to take care of myself as far as my nutrition, as far as really diving into a fitness routine, being consistent with that, and really stepping out of a phase of me having to be everything for everybody. And it was either an or situation to why can't it be an and situation, to really figuring that out. And so when I just made that decision that it was going to be an and situation, things were coming to me, aligning, like really speaking to what I wanted to tap into for my fitness and nutrition. So that's where it started for me. So I really didn't need like any help in that area. I really wanted convenient fitness. I really wanted to clean up my nutrition. And when those things fell in my lap, it was like a no-brainer for me to just walk through that process after all of it, all the fad stuff that I did. I simply said, I'm okay with walking through a process to really get to where I want to go. No more shortcuts, right? Now, the challenge that came was starting to do something different in my home, right? Because I wanted to figure out, I had to like really figure out how can I make this work when I've already built my home, my environment a certain way and taught my environment how to support me, which they only knew how to support me where I was at that time from the decisions that I was making at that time. They really didn't know how to support me, and I didn't know how to ask for support in this new space that I was deciding to be in. So I just started to walk through this process and try to figure out how can I get my family to support me? How can I speak up? How can I be bold? How can I say what I need? All the things. And that was where my challenge came in, because it was like an interruption in the home, an interruption of, wait a minute, you're asking us to do something different. And it was like, yeah, for me, I need you to do something different for me so that I can support you in the way that I need to, with a lot of less stress and more ease, right? So fast forward to the years of doing that, I created success on my just wellness journey, and I allowed that skill set to actually filter into other areas of my life. Like when it came to my finances, my business, my career, my relationships, my spirituality, my time, I started to be more bold and ask for what I needed in order to be effective and improve in all of those areas. So when it came to health coaching, I said, oh my gosh, I can do this because I have a lot of people that are asking me questions. And I saw your post and I was like, I am that one. I am that person. She's speaking to me. I am that person that everybody comes to, ask me questions, ask me how I'm creating consistency through my transparent posts, like the things that I share, the common things that people go through, but still being able to take care of myself. And they saw that in me. So I was always the one that people came to. So I decided, like, this is my moment to become a health coach so that I can create a greater impact in this world. And that is when health coaching came about. But just to be really transparent and honest, when I became certified as a holistic health coach, I didn't even have the belief in myself that I could do this, right?
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna
Okay.
get to that because how many of you in the comments, you are exactly where Chajuana was, where you're doing everything and you feel like you're in an environment where you can be supported, but there's also a lot of growth that you see you want to do, and you already know that the environment that you're in may not be able to support that. And this is so key because this is one of the things that keeps our that keeps minorities and that keeps the representation out of these industries, right? it's not just not knowing that the support is there, right? Like Cabana says, imposter syndrome. You're absolutely right. And I can tell you, I don't know of a health coach who didn't go through imposter syndrome. I was vegan at the time that I went through a health coach training program back in 2014, and I still had imposter syndrome. I still felt like I wasn't like good enough, like I didn't know enough, right? And so, and I was a healthcare provider, for over 18 years, and I still felt like I didn't know enough because, like Chajuana said, there's environments around us that need to foster the support that we need. So Chajuana, I know your journey, and I feel like y'all Chajuana just kind of glazed over a lot of stuff, right? And because I know, and Vivian, hi Vivian, Vivian says me, and so I want us to kind of back up just a little bit. Hi Abby, thank you for being here, and I want Shawana to tell a little bit about. I remember you said they know how to support me in this current environment. What was that current environment? Were you overworked and underpaid? Were you trying to fit in to being a modern mom, wife, and all this stuff? Were you
Yeah.
overweight? Right?
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
just mean, because overweight means different things to different folks, y'all. But
Absolutely.
were you, let me see how I can put this. Our culture calls it thick fit. Were you above thick fit? Right? Like, where were you on the grand scale of things? Where do you fall? Where did you fall in all of that? Where was your energy? Did you feel like, because some people, they live this kind of lifestyle and they feel like, I'm never tired, I've always got energy, you can pile on more, right? Where were you? What environment were you fostering at that time?
Well, the environment that I was fostering was I literally just fell into a belief that this is what it's supposed to look like. I'm supposed to be taking care of everyone and everybody, and I'm supposed to be okay with doing that, even at the expense of my health. It's just, now that you're a mom, you're supposed to do all these things. Now that you're a wife, you're supposed to do all these things and be okay. You're supposed to be tired. You're supposed to go the extra mile and get another job if finances aren't where they are. You're supposed just naturally not be able to take care of yourself because everything else is a priority, right? So no, you can't carve time out for you. You get it when you can get it. You get scraps. And just that kind of thinking just started to not sit right with me because of the way that I was feeling, because of being 30 plus pounds overweight from where I am today. Um, just because of sitting in that space of just not enjoying life at the age of 36, right? I was 36 and I keep saying, this is what life is supposed to be like. I can't imagine it getting worse if I allow it to, right? I already do not feel good in this space. I'm like foreshadowing, like, how is it going to look in 10 years if I don't do something about this?
Yeah. And then what was the turning point for you? Because like Amanda's like, that's me, right? So what was the turning point for you that said, today is day one, right? Or even before that, everyone's going to meet their day zero,
Right.
right? Everyone, it doesn't matter if you're starting a business, it doesn't matter if you're shifting your lifestyle, it doesn't matter if you got a new thought process around how something should be. Everyone has their day zero. What do you remember about your day zero? You're 30 plus pounds overweight, you're in your
Mhm.
30s. Right now, you're in your 40s, right? And
Yeah.
so, is it okay for me to say that? Okay.
I
Like,
am I am
beautifully,
I am
beautifully,
45.
beautifully landed, okay, in the 40 plus club, right? So, so, right. So, made it out of those 30s, long live the 30s, but made it out of those, right?
Mhm.
and have been able to not only release 30 plus pounds, but keep it off and help a lot of other people do the same thing,
Yes.
right? What
Yeah.
was day zero like? Like my day zero, I remember sitting in a walk-in closet in my bedroom and was like, I can't do this the way I've been doing it anymore. Today's the day I do something different,
Yes.
right? Right. So what was your day zero like for you?
It was when I stepped on the scale, and I call it it's joy. And I had a mirror moment. I had a mirror moment, and I just looked at myself and I cried. I just cried like Jucky tears. And I
The
just was
ugly,
like,
the
yeah,
ugly cry.
I said, no, yeah, the ugly cry. I said, this is it. I did not know what it was going to look like, but all I knew was this is it. I'm going to go forth with a change. And it's going to be me walking through a process. I was over the quick fixes. I knew they didn't work. I knew they weren't long term. It's been too many years of doing that. I said, I want to figure out the process so that I can have this for the rest of my life. That's all I knew.
And at the time, were you thinking about the impact that you would make on so many other people?
Not at all. This was merely for me. It was me. It was like, I need to create this for me. I didn't even know that health coaching was in my future. I didn't even know that I was going to become, even a Beachbody coach. It was just that I wanted to do this for me, but also just me sharing my journey. That's where the impact came in.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that's so important for people to notice. So if you're here with us and you're watching us, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Ripped Royalty on Facebook, or even if you're here in StreamYard directly with us, let us know if you've hit your day zero. Whether you're retired, you're in a career, have you hit your day zero yet? And if so, how do you know that you're there? How do you know that you're there? And so, Shawana, now that we're kind of caught up with how your life has kind of unfolded and what, um, now I want to talk a little bit about how did you get into Beachbody? How
Okay.
did you land kind of in that circle of things, right? Because
Yeah.
Beachbody. I love Beachbody. Beachbody's not a quick fix either. It's gonna
No.
drag you out to the deep end, and it's still gonna make you swim, right? Even if you're starting and say, "Oh, I'm just dancing," or "Oh, I'm just," you know, well, my only Beachbody thing was P90 eggs, and I did the protein,
Woo.
which was twice a day. Yeah, I loved it. Freaking loved it. But I digress. So, how did you land in Beachbody and started to get a full team and all those the people under you?
Okay. Well, how I landed in Beachbody is I watched for a whole year my childhood friend. I just watched her. Obviously, I thought I could do this on my own. So I was nitpicking, doing all these little bitty things, which it was creating a little bit of success for a second. But I just kept watching her for like a whole year, and she was just sharing her journey online. And I was like, and she was, a bigger body type than me. And I was just like, wait a minute, I'm watching this woman like create success on her journey. This is what I want. I'm watching her. She's a childhood friend. She's bigger body type than me, and she's creating success. That is what I want. But I'm not ready. So I just watched her, and I watched her. And finally, when I had that day zero, I messaged her and was like, listen, what are you doing? Because it wasn't, she was showing up every day, she was doing the work, and she was creating success. I was seeing her change. I was seeing her show her nutrition, and it was like, that's not hard. Like I can eat like that. Like I just need to learn how, but I can eat like that. I can do that. I can get up and do 30-minute workouts. I could do that too. Still didn't know how I would do it, but because my life was just such a mess, as we call it, it was such a mess. But I was like, you know what? I'm willing to figure it out now that I see this example. She's an example for me. I'm willing to figure it out. And I want to connect with her. And that's what happened. And that's how me just getting into it again, not to build a team, but to just share my journey, like just have some sort of accountability, some online accountability. And I was just, listen, I just did it. Literally, I just took the action and I did it, and I showed up and I shared my food and I did the things, and people just naturally started to ask me, what are you doing? Sort of like I did with her. What are you doing? I want to know. I'm struggling in this area. Can you help me? And it just started to like be this compound effect of me sharing, connecting with people, sharing, connecting with people. It just naturally started to happen. It wasn't something that I was like, oh gosh, I need to come here, come to me and do all these things. It was just like, I'm just going to naturally share. And that natural, authentic sharing was so attractive. It was just extremely attractive.
That's awesome. And so really quickly, Karina, I see your question. We're going to answer questions towards the very end, but if you could put that in here again and put a Q by it, and I'll try to remember to come back to it as well. I think that's an incredible question. And the quick answer to that is not necessarily. So we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. Okay. And so Chajuana, I think that is just amazing. I think there are always people who are we have to hit our day zero first. Let me just say that.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to, and I said this for those of you who were here with me last week, I said, there's no convincing of whether or not you should be or know a minority health coach. No one needs to convince you of that anymore, right? Medicine and healthcare, value-based care, meaning you get better every time you talk to or encounter someone on your healthcare team. That's value-based care. That's constantly moving forward without a whole lot of input from minorities. The representation at the table of healthcare for us and those of us who support these populations is so small. So the convincing of your day zero, you won't find that here, right? You won't ever, and if you've ever had a conversation with me, there's no twisting of your arm to do this because the industry's just doing what it will do anyway, right? But we know that when we go to someone for care, we want to feel like that person is knowledgeable, whether it's healthcare or whether it's health coaching. We want to feel like that person understands us. We want to feel like we're seen and we're heard. And despite what race they show up as, we want to know that they've helped people that look like us.
Right.
And that's, it doesn't matter what race they are. We still want to know that they've helped people who look like us, right? And so it's important that you understand what this platform is for, but no one can do that for you who have never hit your day zero. No one can do that for you. No one can convince you of it. No one can force you to go find a health coach that you know, right? And so Brenda says her day zero was a diagnosis or a health scare. That'll do it. That'll do it for any one of us, right? And so now I want to kind of pivot our conversation towards the modern woman. I think there are a lot of people who can identify as modern women, but I'm going to give a couple of things that I think, characteristics that I think are very specific to modern women. And that's whether you're a millennial, Gen Z, Gen X, those things are almost irrelevant. But I am going to say a few characteristics. And if you agree or even partially agree, yes in the comments. Okay. Modern women typically work full time. That's at least 8 hours a day, in many cases, for someone else. So they're taking on the burden of someone else's dream in exchange for financial value. Most modern women work a full-time job. Okay? Type yes in the comments if you'd agree to that. Most modern women are juggling more than one identity. Here's what I mean by that. They are a mother, and if they're not a mother and they haven't birthed any children, they're the auntie that somebody's coming to, or they are the godmother that someone's leaning on. But someone's leaning on them for some kind of expertise that in some case, at some point, they felt like they were not ready for. I think for the first 3-4 years of my kid's life, I was still looking down the hall like, oh my God, he's still here. Like the person is still with me. Like it's a whole person down there. Mm-hmm. Right? So says yes. Okay. So they say yes. All right. So modern women juggle more than one identity. They are mothers. They are wives. They belong to girlfriend circles or brunch groups, right? There's someone else laying the burden of help me look for my own future, help me figure something out, whether it's their child, whether it's their friend. And modern women, some of them, depending on their age group, are also caregivers. Some of them are caregivers to their spouses, some that are aging out. And wearing each one of these identities makes it that much more challenging for them to say, well, what about me? What about me?
Yes.
And it makes it that much more challenging, or it takes a little bit more time before they not only say, what about me? But before they say, this is just for this journey, this thing that I'm on is just for me. It's just for me first. Mm-hmm. That becomes your day zero.
Yes.
Just like with Chajuana, that becomes your day zero. Everybody arrives at that on their own. Yeah. They have to be willing to prioritize it enough. So now that we know we got some modern women in the room, let's continue our conversation. Everybody has agreed on something for some reason about one thing or another, right? Everybody has agreed, yes, we are modern women. All right. So now that we have some modern women in the room, let's open up the rest of this conversation with Chajuana. So Chajuana, now that we know who we're talking to, right? The next thing that I want us to talk about is I want you, Chajuana. Now we're fast forwarding to health coach, graduate cohort 7, board certified, did all the things, took the exam. Now I want to talk a little bit about the people who you coach, the women that you coach, right? Mm-hmm. How are they? Are they in alignment with these things I've mentioned? But specifically, what are the deeper challenges that they're coming to you with? That on the surface, it looks like one thing, but then underneath it all, when you really start coaching them, what does that start to look like?
Well, on the surface, it looks like I don't have time. I don't have the money. They come with a lot of objections, right? But when we do a little bit of exploring, specifically on the initial, I call it a holistic life and wellness assessment, our consults. So specifically on that initial consult is where they usually give off a lot of objections. But the deeper issues, and we actually get to explore, is there is a lack of belief in themselves, a lack of belief in me as a coach, just the coaching in general, just like a lack of belief in me as a coach and a lack of belief of coaching in general, because they really don't understand how this can help their situation. because it's not something that's out there, that's known, that's like, here is what can help you. Or they just don't really know the depths of how it can help them, right? And then ultimately, like I said, that number one is like just the lack of belief in themselves, simply because we condition ourselves actually to live in a past focused life, right? Even when we're trying to go towards our goals, it's more of the probability. Well, this probably won't happen for me because I'm looking at my past and all the things that I've tried, versus looking at it like impossibilities. Like, you know what? It's possible that if then this can happen for me. So my goal is to, when I do connect with someone on a holistic life and wellness assessment slash consultation, that I get them to see that, right? That I get them to see basically where they are now and where they want to be, but also see exactly what is stopping them basically from their immediate objections. And we dissect that. And we get to the real root of the actual objection. That's always the case. That lack of belief is always the very first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's and I think, well, I don't know that people know this. I feel like everybody should. I never assume that everybody should know certain things, but the belief in oneself, and this is a coaching concept as well, that belief is just as powerful as your day zero. That has to happen independent of your coach. Your coach can assist and root out some reasons behind why you don't believe,
Right.
but you still have to walk away holding the thought that I can do this and there is a different me on the other side of this, right?
Yeah.
And as you guys are listening to this, I want you to think of this in terms of what you need for yourself, but I also want you to always future pace in these conversations. Am I able to hold someone down that comes to me needing that kind of support? Do I have it in me to see a specific result for my prospect or my client that they don't currently see themselves? Do I have the capacity to do that? Because I think sometimes some people just want to coach so they can manage people. They do. They just want to coach so that they can manage people, folks. When in reality, it's a journey with the person. It's a journey alongside the person. And that takes capacity. It takes the capacity of someone who has already chosen themselves first, because they know that their client has to get to that point too.
Yeah.
So, do you have the capacity to be able to hold someone in that space and say, I'm going to help you get there? And I already know the way. We're going to encounter some stuff along the way, but I'm going to help you. I got you. Can you truly say that as a prospect? And I can tell you that in the conversations that I have with people, I can tell from some, not all, I can tell that they feel fearful of that capacity. And they look for the program and having more knowledge to give them the capacity to hold someone towards an end result. And that's not how that should go, right? That's not how that should go. So, and I'm going to say this, y'all might not like it. Y'all might not like it. Y'all might not like it, but I can say it because I've lived it.
Yeah.
Adding another degree doesn't give you the capacity to live in purpose.
No.
Let me say that again and put that in the comments. Adding another degree or certification does not give you the right or the capacity or the leverage or ability to be able to hold someone that needs you to hold space for them in a certain way. It does not. It does not. It does not. And that's just the reality of it. If you go into any program looking for someone to give you that capacity, You've already disappointed yourself.
Yep.
And that's not an equal exchange of value, meaning your money for the class. It is not an equal exchange of value. You're going to always feel cheated. You're going to always feel cheated, and rightly so, because your perspective might be skewed, right?
Yep.
So you must arrive at the place where you feel like, yes, I can coach someone. And if you are someone on here that you feel like you have the capacity to go deeper with someone and get them to say yes to themselves, type yes, I have the capacity in the comments. Let us know that. Let us know that in the comments. Jocelyn says true. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Franchila, hi Franchila. She says true. That's absolutely true. Because sometimes when we think out of a different perspective, we're looking for something that's not even there. We're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something that may not even exist. And it's important that if you're going to walk this career path, that we get good minority men and marginalized, we get good coaches in the field.
Mm-hmm.
We get really good people who are like, I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
I know what I'm doing. Yes, I have capacity. I have what it takes. And
Yeah.
no, that degree or your course doesn't change that. I have the capacity, I have the skill because I've said yes to myself before.
Yeah.
So I know that I can get somebody else to say yes to themselves too. I can stand in agreement with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about. That's what it's about. It's not about the certification. That's not what it's about. It's about putting more people in the field that have capacity to assist. That's so important. That is so important. That is so important. All right. So now let's continue to talk to the modern woman. So Shawana, now that we understand how you go a little bit deeper with your clients, and I'm just kind of referring because I want to make sure we try to cover all of this. I want you to give the top, because now we know you're a great coach. What are
Mm-hmm.
the three, besides someone being able to hold this capacity for someone? What are the three attributes you would say great coaches need to have? What are the three attributes you think, if I had to say, okay, let me put a stamp on it, that's a good coach. That's a good health coach, because there are many different kinds of coaches. What
Yes.
would you say are three types of attributes they need to have?
Okay. Well, I would say, just given the amount of coaching that I have done and the consults and the conversations, like all of them add a new level of awareness to just even my coaching, right? Because everybody's unique, everybody is different, but there's always something common there that I see. And so what I find that they really need is someone who actually like listens to hear, listens without judgment so they can like fully express themselves. That right there is like extremely important, because oftentimes they don't have anyone in their lives who are going to listen, or they're just listening to respond, right? Well, let me tell you about me. So just holding space for just being able to allow them to talk and you listen has been very valuable. Someone who actually believes in them. And when I can go deeper and hear someone's story, hear where they are, where they want to be, hear what they've already done, and really point out, like, you've already done XYZ. There's evidence that you believed in yourself in these areas. So it's there. So being able to point that out fosters that belief in themselves. So you've been able to believe because you see what they've done helps them to believe. So they really gravitate towards you. Well, I'm glad you have that. You feel that for me, and that resonates with them. And then also someone who can provide guidance and support because they've been there. They know what it's like to like really have a guide, whether it's an internal guide, like really trusting themselves and just going for it, taking the action all the time. And just really having that support. That support is huge, something that we keep on talking about, but it's a huge, huge thing for people.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that the first one you said was being a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
I think enough of us, and you guys can say I agree in the comments. I think enough of us haven't been listened to, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time we get to the point where we need a health coach or even a therapist, I think one of the top reasons people do decide to bring someone on or get the help that they need is because they want somebody to listen to them, right? They want to be heard, and instead you know, shouting on their job or ranting
Mm-hmm.
online, they get a therapist or they get someone to help them out so that somebody can actually hear them out and listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important. And I also like that you mentioned that because in our medical system in the United States, traditionally, we pass down instructions as a provider, as a respiratory therapist. There's a lot of instructions, even in anesthesia. Here's what you do post anesthetic. Here's how you need to make sure this gets out of your system. Here's what you need to make sure you have natural pain relief so that you don't need more things for pain, right? And so we're naturally used to passing down instructions. We're
Mm-hmm.
naturally used to saying, be compliant, just do what I say. And I
Yeah.
think the key to coaching is listening to what they say so that you can understand where it is they're trying to go.
Mm-hmm.
This is their way of saying yes to themselves. So we want to be able to make sure that we can support them in that way, right? So it's not, I remember, oh my God, I remember sitting in on a cohort of, I ain't gonna name no names, but I sat in on a cohort of providers. It was a big group of providers that were getting trained, and they had the hardest time. And these were all people, anesthesiologists, they were case managers, they were therapists, they were all kinds of people that worked clinically, right? These were clinical people. And they had the hardest time understanding what active listening was.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that thing wrestled with them. You hear me? They had the hardest. They said, well, I don't understand. If I have the answer, why can't I just tell them what to do? And I was like, because most people aren't going to be compliant. That's
Mm-hmm.
not how.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the internet is telling us what to do all day long. Most people aren't going to be compliant, right? So the skill of coaching is so is so different, right? If you want to be able to get a result, Google will tell them what to do, right? They don't need a coach for that. They need someone to listen. So I'm glad you stated and support, right? And support. Amanda says, I agree. So really quickly, Shawana, I want to talk about what are some of, now that you support your clients and you listen to them, what are some of the immediate major shifts? And I want to talk specifically about weight loss. Because I
Okay.
always say when people lose weight, they lose way more than something physical. They lose way more than something physical, right? It's a it's
Yeah.
it's truly a giving up of so many things, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about that. What are some of the things, the immediate shifts now that you coach them, you listen to them, you support them, you believe in where they're wanting to go? What are some of the immediate shifts that you see?
Well, this is funny, and I want to like kind of put a spin on it because I know we're weight loss focused, and I was originally weight loss focused in my practice. However, I go more towards like we're looking at everything, right? But weight loss is a part of the whole, right? The holistic life of you, right? So when it comes to weight loss, and I'm talking about mental weight loss and physical. All right. So my goal is to really teach my clients to become aware of what they're thinking. All right. Because their thoughts always create their results. And this is a bit of the work. Well, this is actually the heavy part of the work that we do, is just really seeing what their thoughts are. Like, what are they thinking about weight loss? What are they thinking? Like, what are the things that, and typically it's like, oh, this is what I have to do. Like you mentioned, they can just Google and internet will tell them exactly what to do. So in their mind, they're thinking it has to look like this. It has to look like that. In order for them to even start the process to even think about weight loss or take action or anything like that. So what we do focus on is all the thoughts first. Bring some awareness to what are you thinking about, even your weight loss journey, And so once we start to uncover, I do have them just do a brain dump. Excuse me, just do a brain dump. And we take one of those thoughts and we dissect it. We dissect it. So we go through the process of bringing awareness to, how do you feel when you think this thought about your weight loss journey, right? What is the feeling that comes up for you? What are the actions that you take behind feeling that way about your weight loss journey? So they get to uncover, I have them write this down as I'm writing it down. So they get to uncover like what actions that they take or inactions that they take, right? Because of their thought and how they're feeling. And then we get to, so what is the result that this creates for you, right? What is the result that this creates for you? And they get to write down like what doesn't happen that they actually want to happen in their lives, but what doesn't happen as a result of them thinking those thoughts, having those feelings, those uncomfortable feelings, and that do not serve them, those thoughts that don't serve them, the feelings that don't serve them, and the actions that don't serve the results that they want. Mm-hmm. They get to see this. They get to see this written down on paper. And it's the most amazing awareness, aha moment that leads them to believe, oh, it's actually me that's preventing me to create any result that I want, even in regards to weight loss. And so the more we dissect those thoughts and they become of their feelings and they become aware of their feelings and their actions and the results that they're creating because of that, it's almost like a weight starts to, because their mind is filled with all this stuff that keeps them in a cycle of doom. So they're thinking, I can't do this. I don't have enough time. Oh, this and that. It's all these thoughts, these non-serving thoughts. So once they start to release this weight from their mind and they start to actually be able to problem solve, because now they're releasing this mental weight and things just become so much more clear, that's when they can start to, they start focusing on, okay, how can I solve for this? Like, I can't actually create a change. I can't actually do this, because now they're practicing their thoughts. They're like more self-aware of what they're thinking. And they're like, oh, and so now that's where the work actually begins. So they have really no idea that it's their thoughts that's creating their results until I actually bring that awareness to them. And that's the game changer for them to actually problem solving for weight loss and using that skill for every other area in their life.
Mm-hmm. It becomes very magical. Yes. It becomes so magical, right? I as a metaphysician, I cringe when I hear people say affirmations don't work. I'm like, but you're affirming all day with your thoughts. Your thoughts are and affirming all day. Wouldn't it be great if you could just think the ones that you want to think? What's so wrong with that, right? We're affirming all day, but it shows you the power of the mind to stop things and to push things forward, right? Mm-hmm. And it's also taught in the trans theoretical model of change when it comes to coaching. Yeah. They have to get to that point. They have to get to day zero before they come to you. There's no persuasion in anything like that. They have to say, I have a glimpse of who I could possibly be. And I know I'm going to need someone else to help me get there.
Right.
And then when you come in, you just tear the whole wall down. If you've ever, how many of you have ever seen, I might be showing my age, how many of you have ever seen the Women of Brewster plays?
Yes.
Right. When they tore the wall down, if you've ever seen the Winnie the Brewster plays. At the end, they tear this wall down that was blocking their sunlight and all of this stuff. But it's like when one brick comes out, then you see all these bricks getting passed over the crowd. And that one brick, you can think of that as like their thought process, that first little glimpse to say, I think I might be able to do this. And then the health coach comes in and dismantles all of that and builds a road on the other side of the freaking wall. So not only are we going to tear it down, but look down that road, you will be there soon.
Yeah.
You will be there soon, and because you're no longer on your own. Yes, it was a long time ago. That movie. Oh, oh. All right. And so I want to ask, so if you guys have questions for Chajuana, please put those questions in the comments, or if you have questions about the program itself or anything that has to do with becoming a health coach and coaching clients, put those questions in the comments as well. So I have one other question for you. What are some of the thoughts? I know this might be a little invasive, but what are some of the thoughts people tell you that they had? Besides, like, oh, I feel like I can't do it. But what are some of the thoughts that people say they have? And it's not just what, it could be around anything. It could be around weight loss, changing their food, coming off of sugars, too much sugar. What are some of the thoughts that you hear them tell you?
Okay. So a lot of it's that's why I said everything is so individualized, and it's like we got to get out of the cookie cutter stuff because it's just not it. Right.
And that's why they have to have the capacity. That's why the capacity is so important, because everyone is so different.
Man, I tell you, everyone is different. Every thought process is different. Every call is going to be different. So it's like a lot of it is, number one, we talked about, I just don't believe in myself. Number two, it's, well, I've always been this way, right? So they don't see any other way, any other thought process to change. Well, my family has been doing this for years. My grandmother taught me, or my mom. It's just maybe a generational thing that they just have a hard time going up against, right? Even if it's creating the results that they don't want and they know it, and they don't feel good about it, but it's almost, it goes back to that sort of like people pleasing thing, but I don't want to upset anybody. So I'm just going to honor what they want for me instead of what I want for me. So oftentimes that's the big one right there. It's like, but this is what my life is supposed to look like. It doesn't feel good to me. I really want to have the confidence to break free from that. I really want to be bold and move out of that so I can feel good, because we all know that when we do things that go against how we naturally feel, we're going to come up against people's thoughts and feelings. It's not like we're physically harming anybody, but once we can get to that place of and understand and have like peace about, I'm not really harming anybody. I'm just like going up against their thoughts and beliefs. Like I'm not physically hurting anyone. I think it's going to be okay if I move in the direction that feels good to me. So oftentimes they don't understand that piece either. Like, well, you're really not hurting anybody. Like, you just want to take these small steps and see how they feel. And we'll come back next week and we'll talk about it, right? How did it make you feel? And oftentimes it's, whoa, I did this and it felt so good. And they want more of those moments. So those are some of the things that's one of the things that we really come up against is just them. There's this internal battle, this internal struggle of wanting to live someone else's dream so that they can continue to people please, even though it's not, even if it doesn't feel good to them. So.
People pleasing is a tough one to get past. Do you ever encounter people who have to retrace where they initially got the thought and they realize that it was never their own in the first place, that it had nothing to do with their desire?
Oh, yeah. Like if I could give an example of a client who's an artist, who has been an artist forever in the day. She recognized her skills and she wanted to like really live in this artistry live in this world as an artist, right? And was told by someone she loved that artists don't make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some other things that happened in her life where it was almost like confirmation of artists don't make money. You need to stop doing that, figure out something that's going to get you money. Now, this person is very well established. They are simply creating art with what they do right now, just not in the way that they want to. They find themselves quite bored because it's not really what they're making a lot of money, a whole lot of money, but it's not something that they really wanted to do in their life. So they find themselves like, throughout our sessions, I never realized how this impacted where I am right now. I'm like, but you are an artist that is making a whole lot of money right now. Can you see that? In this space that you are in. So you've held on to this belief that artists don't make money. So you're in a position that you are bored with. You're making a lot of money. So there's proof right there that artists do make money. And I just asked, how do you feel about that? And they're able to explore, wow, I never saw it like that. Artists do make money. So there's a lot of deep-seated subconscious things that are there and that stop us, and we don't even know it.
I love it. Miss Glenda says, has there been a single question, like one specific question, that you have asked clients that always highlight what is holding them back from accomplishing their goals? Oh, that's good. I'm gonna let Chajuana answer that one. I might answer that one too as a like a master coach, but because there's a way that you ask that to get people to verbal vomit, right? Is what they call it. There's a way that you can.
Well, what I do a lot of is exploration. And when I can ask a client, well, why do you believe that to be true? Right? And oftentimes I'm just curious. I'm asking and I'm asking and I'm asking. So there's not like a single question. It often just comes from curiosity. Just asking the questions really opens up the brain space, right? And allows for that exploration. And this is where the clients actually start to figure out well, they actually start to solve their own problems through what they're thinking through this exploration, right? Because I'm like, what else? Well, what else? What else? But no one's ever taken the time to ask them these questions. So while there's not like a single question, I don't believe, it's just a number of questions that come together through curiosity and exploration. I hope that makes sense and I answered your question.
Yep, and she's right. That's a good coach. It's consistent exploration, and it's like a steady interest in the direction that the conversation is going, right? And so it's some other things I always ask them, and these might be in the course too. I always ask them is, think about that, and what do you think about that? Do you know anybody that actually did that? And if they can give one example, right, then whatever they believe just falls on its weight. It doesn't really exist, right? So say if someone says, all like you just said, all artists, artists don't make any money. I mean, Van Gogh made a lot. Basquiat. These are rich artists. So that means it falls away on its own weight. But what I try to get them to do is create that cascade in their mind, whether they're thinking about their money, whether they're thinking about whatever it is, how they eat. people, wherever you could possibly think of, someone else is doing the opposite and thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Yes.
been since the beginning of time. And so once the person can wrap their mind around that belief, that brick wall comes down. Because they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, now it doesn't really, now I just feel kind of silly because it doesn't really, why
Yeah.
don't I want to do it then? It becomes very personal. And that's what you
Mm-hmm.
want to direct it. Why don't I do it then?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I do it? Why haven't I done it? And even if they never ask that question in front of you, they're thinking it.
Yep.
And that's where that thought gets them to their day zero and saying, okay, I know I need help.
Yep.
Because there's a rainbow in the sky. It has all the colors, but I assume the rainbow is all one color. No, that's
Mm-hmm.
not true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who's ever seen it says it has multiple colors.
Yeah.
So it just, the reality that they lived in, they've got to reshape that. And
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is that they have a coach that'll help them do that, that can inspire them to think in ways they never thought of. So that's what the coach, that great coach does, helps them start to dream and be empowered and be inspired. I feel like there was one more question and then we're gonna jump off here. This is it right here. She says, do you have to be active on social media for success as a coach? We're going to give you a couple perspectives on that. Chajuana, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I am going to say you do not. One of the things that I know for sure is getting out and meeting people. It doesn't have to be at a networking event. It can just be wherever, because you never know who needs your services, or you never know who someone that you just may be talking to knows someone who can benefit. And I truly find that being in spaces where I can talk to people and be myself. And even though I can do that online, but it's just so much more personal when people can reach you and talk to you. Because even though I've shared my journey online, like I am almost 13 years into living into Louisville, Kentucky. And I have, because my journey started actually here in Louisville, Kentucky, um, it's like I have had so many people who have seen me online, got connected with me online locally, but they meet me in the street and it's a whole different world, right? So it's not necessarily that you have to be online. I can honestly say that the best thing is just getting out and meeting people, just going to places that you already go, maybe talking a little bit more, being interested in people, is going to be your best bet. If social media is not your space, please believe that people have been able to create success way before social media became a thing. All right. So don't hold on to that belief at all, please.
I love it. And then she says, do you have to post on social media for success?
I feel like if you can get into the space where you can authentically just share, like if you're comfortable in sharing what you want to share, not all of your life, but I sort of look like social media as my journal. And just because that's where my true authenticity comes from. It's just my thoughts or what I'm going through or what I'm thinking, or how, maybe this particular piece of information can add value to someone's life. That's how I think about it. Just really adding value. It's my journal. It's what I'm going to share today, but I'm really consistent at it. Just because I love to do it, right? But again, it's not the end all be all, but hey, people love it. They gravitate towards it. So I keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? If I could add to that, I would say it's, do you need a social presence? No. I've been able to be at some very large tables, and those companies have social proof. None. None. And I mean, they're like billion-dollar companies. And yeah, no, they don't have a presence at all. They're not on the gram at all. So it kind of shifted my belief around true success, and
Mm-hmm.
that could you be a voice and create a platform for something? Sure. Do you have to? No, you do not. No, you do not. You know, and so it's really up to you and how much you want to share.
Mm-hmm.
And people have faceless channels on YouTube now. Like there's just the world is your oyster. Like you don't have to do it
Yeah.
that way at all, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I like this. Amanda says, "Oh, does it bring more clients?" Um, Let me think about this. When I was a health coach, I did things exclusively online, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. At the time, I was going live on Periscope every night, and I did well, but I burned out quick too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did well in the like, if I had to put a number on it, I was consistently making like 30,000, 40 grand a month off of clients, right? I was burned out though. I was so burned out. So there's a trade-off. And the moment I stopped, then I needed a coach. And so it just depends on you and if you want to do that. Like, and
Yeah.
I gotta say this, and then I'm turning over to you, Shawana. Don't mistake likes or influence for financial capacity.
Yes.
Some of the richest companies in the world have no social proof. They only have a website. They're not anywhere else online. So don't mistake that. You know, could you get a big following, things like that? Yes, but will it necessarily equate to clients that are consistent and that will consistently pay and be the exact client that you want to work with?
Yeah.
There's a lot of little nuances in that. When you see someone, unless it's like school, right? Like this is certification. Anyone who signs up is going to get the same thing. Does that make sense? Versus being a health coach itself, every client is different. So there's still specific people that you want to align with. Will that happen on social media? You have to be exceedingly pointed in your
Mm-hmm.
messaging and your branding in all of these things to then let it equate to more clients.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say about that.
Yeah.
But can you get clients without having that? Yeah, I mean, we accept insurance now, so you don't ever necessarily have to get online at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You want to add to that, Shawana?
Yeah,
Anything?
I just want to add, I want to add real quickly. I mean, you can experiment as I have a deep belief, like to do what feels good to you. Experiment, find different ways. If you want to do social media, if that feels good to you, find ways to be consistent at it. If going out and meeting people in person feels good to you, find ways to be consistent at it. There's plenty of events that happen. You can see on Facebook what's happening in the city locally. Just find what works best for you. Because again, we're all different. We're all unique individuals. Some things speak to us, some things don't. But if it feels good, figure out a way to make it work for you.
Absolutely. Yep. A good example would be like if I knew I wanted to coach people with diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm going to go to the diabetes associations. I'm going to go to DaVita dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to those people for my clients. And
Yeah.
I may or may not have a social existence, but I'll have a website for them to be able to contact me.
Mm-hmm.
So in that regard, I may not always need social media because I know who the organizations themselves are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so it just depends on your angle. Like Shawana said, try it out, see if you like it. All right. Yes, the key is definitely consistency in whichever way that you do it and whatever fits like your personality. All right. Shawana, any parting words? This has been amazing. Any parting words for any of these amazing modern men and women? Because I'm sure there's some people are going to catch the replay. Any parting words for anyone who's thinking about becoming a health coach, anyone who's thinking about being great at being a health coach, finding the time to
Mm-hmm.
be able to get the course done. Anything you want
Okay.
to say?
If you feel it in your spirit to, walk this path, I would suggest just going on ahead and taking the action. Sometimes we are a little bit fearful. Sometimes we have disbelief, as I once had before. The main thing that worked for me was just announce it. I just announced it. Listen, this is what's happening now. No longer a Beachbody coach. I have my own practice. And this is what I'm doing. Was there fear there? Was there disbelief? Yes. But the more I started to coach clients in this space, the more I realized, dang, I should have did this a long time ago. Yes, we have those moments of why didn't I just do this a long time ago? But there are processes that we have to walk through because of our thoughts, right? So our thoughts will always create our results. And my thoughts kept me stuck from walking into my purpose through my own practice as a health coach. And now I'm just like, whatever, come on, bring the clients on so I can serve them. So do it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So listen, you guys, if you have any other questions for Shawana, you can drop them here. Even though we're gonna end the stream, the questions will still be here, and we'll look at answering those once it's all over. I want to say thank you so much to Shawana for being here. I cannot thank you enough. So appreciative and so proud of all of your success. I feel like you've come full circle. You've come full circle. Like from happen to see a post to I'm board certified. And that's
Yeah.
huge. And I will say, you guys, less than 10% of people get board certified. Less than 10, I think it's like 9.7% that usually
Mhm.
will get board certified. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal. And even fewer of those people are minorities. So it's
Mhm.
so important. She's a rarity, and we're grateful to have her knowledge and her wisdom here with us. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here, and all of you. Bye bye.